ESPN1080.com. Eric Lopez here at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium alongside Brent Beaird. You can hear on Tuck and O'Neill every Tuesday at around the 4 o'clock hour. Of course, does work for Lindy's and all over the place. And we saw a dominant performance by the number 3 ranked Alabama Crimson Tide. Blew out Florida, Brent, 38-10 in front of the second largest crowd ever at Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. An impressive performance by the Crimson Tide.
Well, it really was, Eric. No question about that. I think even after Florida got off to an early lead, the long pass to DeBose from John Brantley, the place was going crazy at that point. I thought it was key that Alabama was able, in their first drive, to come down. They got a field goal. Wasn't touching it like Nick Saban wanted, as he told us a few minutes ago in the locker room. But at the same time, them closing the gap and settling down after that was crucial for this game.
Gators had that big play in the first play, as Brent mentioned. John Brantley hitting DeBose, and I thought Brantley, until he got hurt, I thought was playing pretty well there. Had over 140 yards, really made some nice throws, and it's unfortunate that they're halfway through the first half he gets hurt with his knee injury.
Well, Eric, the thing that they did that they have not really done this year as far as Florida is concerned is Brantley hit his receivers. I don't mean the running backs, but I mean the deceivers, such as DeBose, such as Deontay Thompson. That was crucial for them, and I think that's something that will really pay off for them as the year goes along.
The turning point in this game, in the second quarter, 10-10 game, and Courtney Upshaw, who had a monster game, he was the one that knocked out Brantley on a sack later in the game, but he gets a pick 6 off Brantley to give Alabama a 17-10 lead, a lead they would never look back. It seemed to me that was the turning point of the game. Upshaw was tremendous.
So I don't think there's any question about it. Remember, we saw him in the bowl game in the big win against Michigan State. He was tremendous at that point, but Upshaw has that kind of ability that he can disrupt the game. And he told us a few minutes ago that he was locked on the guard, and then Brantley was under some pressure, was able to throw the ball, and he said, yeah, the thing landed in my lap just about, which is pretty amusing, but I guarantee you, when he got it, he knew what to do with it, didn't he?
He did, he certainly did, and then Trent Richardson really dominated this game, 186 yards on the ground, 2 touchdowns, and Richardson by himself destroyed Dempsey and Rainey, who couldn't get anything going against that Alabama defensive line. Bama really controlled the lines on both sides of the ball, but Trent Richardson, to me now, front runner for the Heisman Trophy.
He certainly has to be up there. I would agree with that. His play continues to improve almost every week. Now, it goes hand in hand with the great job that the Alabama offensive line did, and if Nick Saban would heard us right now, he'd come correct us. I'm assured of that, but at the same time, Richardson said a few minutes ago in the locker room, I'd never go down on the first hit. That's one thing that we try to do, is to make that extra yardage. And he was a workhorse tonight, 29 carries, nearly got 200 yards. Obviously, he got over 200 with his receiving too, but a dynamite performance by Richardson, who said this game was very important for him, coming from Pensacola and also being recruited by Florida.
Yeah, they get to motivated when they come home in the Sunshine State. All right, Brent, you've seen now Oklahoma and Alabama in person. You'll see LSU later in the year. But just for now, you've seen Oklahoma in Tallahassee against FSU and Alabama against Florida. Compare the two teams.
Well, I would say right now that Alabama has a better defense. Now, I was impressed with Oklahoma. They've got some ball hogs, and they were able to get several passes in that FSU game and basically steal them away from the FSU receivers. But I'm just totally impressed with Alabama's overall defense. I still think probably right now that the Oklahoma passing attack is probably better with Stills and with Broyles, but at the same time, I think Alabama showed tonight that they're probably more balanced. And Eric, I still believe after watching them against Arkansas and watching them here tonight, that they're not too far away from getting their downfield passing attack going. He just missed Marquise Mays just a few times. And by the way, I thought Marquise Mays' kickoff return was also one of the turning points of the game.
Game a short field and get back in the game when Florida had momentum. Let's talk about Florida. Brantley uncertain now. Injury didn't look good. We're not going to speculate, obviously, the injury. We'll see what happens. Jeff Driscoll, the phenom freshman out of Central Florida High School, came in, made a couple of runs, but boy, it was tough for him against this Bama defense.
It really was. The 31-yard run was impressive, and frankly, the Bama defense was cleared out of that area, and they've got to go to LSU next. How difficult a game that is. I don't know anybody, especially as close as we followed Florida history, Eric, that Florida's ever played 2 top 3 teams in a row, and now going to LSU with that kind of defense with Driscoll. I'm afraid it's going to be a long day for them, but I will say this. They've improved considerably since last year. This is a Gator team, and especially after we saw Stephen Garcia do what he did, or maybe do what he couldn't do that game in November against South Carolina in Florida. Don't be surprised if that comes down to who goes to Atlanta.
Well, you mentioned it. South Carolina losing to Auburn at home. The Tigers, with a defensive performance, gets the win 16-13. Garcia continues to struggle. How long can Spurrier stay with him? Does he have no other options?
Well, I think what it shows you is that he just has no confidence in Connor Shaw. I don't think he has much more in Stephen Garcia. But again, Marcus Alanimore did a really nice job being able to run the ball. It was a big win for Auburn. Frankly, it was a real surprise. Auburn now has Arkansas. They go there on the road, and that'll be tough for them to continue their winning ways. But yes, this South Carolina team continues to struggle, and it may be just an up-and-down season for them right now.
The biggest winner perhaps in the East, Georgia. Don't look now. They got a big win over Mississippi State. They only got that one loss to South Carolina. They still get to play Florida. Mark Richt kind of sneaking around there, might get back in the hunt.
Aaron Murray playing better. The Crowell kid at running back, the true freshman, has been really, really impressive. I think what's helped them, though, is Georgia's defense, Eric, continues to improve. They were 15th in the nation coming into the game. They had a good time today stopping Mississippi State, holding the 10 points, and now you've got to look at it. Some of that luster's off that Dan Mullen star. A disappointing season so far in Mississippi State with 3 losses.
Indeed. Nationally, Wisconsin, very impressive, dominating Nebraska. Russell Wilson, a tremendous acquisition. Tom O'Brien might lose his job because he let him go to Wisconsin. Wisconsin, definitely quietly a national title contender, rolling over Nebraska.
Although they were, especially with 30,000, get this now, 30,000 Nebraska fans at the game is what we were told a few minutes ago. Wisconsin continues to play well defensively in that venue. That was a real blowout for them. But again, I like Nebraska when they get their offense straightened out with Taylor Martinez. I think they'll be okay.
Final thoughts on the Gators in Alabama moving forward now for both of these teams. Where do they go from here?
Oh, I think for Alabama, the sky's the limit. I think at this point you've got Vanderbilt for homecoming, and then they go to Ole Miss, then they play Tennessee. Let's be honest, those are 3 winnable games. They get the week off, and then they've got Armageddon on November 5th against LSU. So, and that would be...
That game might get a little hype.
Yeah, well, I think it probably will at this point. Florida, on the other hand, they need to survive without any more injuries next week against LSU. And then at that point, they go to Auburn, and I still think they can right the ship. They've got a big game, obviously, at Georgia and Jacksonville. So this is still an improved Florida team. And what you saw tonight from Alabama, I think is what you're going to see from Florida in the next 2 or 3 years with Will Muschamp being mentored by Nick Saban.
Indeed. We'll see how Florida responds with the injuries. All right, check out Brent Beaird every Tuesday on Tuck and O'Neill around the 4 o'clock hour on ESPN 1080. Check him out as well on Lindy's. He's all over the map. He's Mr. College Football, ladies and gentlemen. So you're going to want to check it out. And check out for more coverage of college football on ESPN1080.com. We'll have a post-game of this and all across the college football world with podcasts and everything. So you want to keep it right here on ESPN1080.com. From Ben Hill Griffin Stadium here at the Swamp, Brent Beaird, I'm Eric Lopez. Your final score, Alabama 38 and Florida 10. This has been Postgame on ESPN1080.com.